Give a hand for world champion team roper, Walt Woodard. Thanks, Walt.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, I'm here today to talk to you about timing and about our machine that's out. Just like we talked about at the roping schools, you know, the USTRC, a couple years ago, I watched the finals up there, and kids dominated almost all the ropings. They dominated every roping. And the World Series come up with an idea that they could stop that from happening. They would just eliminate them from roping. If you're not 21 years old or older, you can't rope at the World Series ropings. And so there's got to be a reason why they tried to eliminate that group of people. And I think the reason is because when you go to a roping and you look out in a parking lot, there's kids roping each other. There's kids walking around and they're roping the inside leg. So when you play the inside leg game, you're taught to swing down when the left leg is forward, and then up and then back down. And so it teaches you timing. And they know that they're out of time, because if you play that game and you try to throw when the left leg is forward, you hit the right leg and you miss. They play that game all the time in the parking lot, and it would help everyone if you would do that. But when next time you go to a rope and look out in a parking lot and see what you see, kids roping each other. But you'll never look out in a parking lot and see two 60-year-old men roping each other. You know, Larry, take off, and Larry takes off, and Bob's after him trying to rope him. They just won't do it. And, okay, so the next thing they do, kids learn how to get in time by roping a goat. Well, adults won't rope a goat. So the next thing is the way that I learned how to get in time is I learned how to rope a lead steer. And a lead steer is not a steer that you lead, but it's a steer that you just track around in a circle, and he gallops around just like a trained seal, and you learn to swing your rope down every time his leg is back, down, and you learn that. But most people can't train their own lead steer, and even I have lead steers, but some days you go out there and they won't come off the fence, and they go too fast, or they won't gallop, they won't trot. So there's got to be a way that you can learn or teach people timing. So with the sleds that were on the market, and people say, well, you're just promoting your own sled. I started putting roping schools on when I was 19 years old, and I'm almost 60, and you go with me to a roping school, and I'll show you what it's like. I'll show you what makes people miss and why they can't catch. And the sleds that were on the market, that were existing, I would be trying to teach them timing, and they would throw when the hind legs were all the way forward, and they would throw completely out of time. And they would look at me and say, was I in time that time? No, you were 180 degrees out of time. And then they come right back with, but I caught. I know, but the steer has front legs. So if you try to throw when his hind legs are forward, he has front legs, and it won't go in. It'll hit his front legs. And as soon as you start roping the steers, they miss just every time. They'll just miss and miss and miss. And then they think it's because they didn't do something correct with their delivery or their horsemanship or anything like that. It was that they were out of time. So I'm trying to teach people how to get in time. And what I came up with was, I came up with an idea that I would make it some kind of mechanism that you would shock people when they were out of time. If they threw out of time, shock them. Oh! And they would say, well, stop shocking me. Well, then stop throwing out of time. Well, that's not practical. So I came up with something that you could not catch when you're out of time. Okay, so I need you to come out here with me. Yeah, please. Yeah, right here. You. Yes, please. Please. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is she's going to get right here, and she's going to walk towards that machine, and I'm going to get in time. Be still. And I'm going to get in time with her leg. Every time her left leg is back, my tip of my rope is going to be down, right? Walk. Down, 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 down. Go over there. That was nice, wasn't it? All right, okay, good, thanks. Okay, so, but that's why people can't do that. And it seems like it's easy. Like if I played a song for you, you could stay in time with the music of the song. But you have to learn that. If I said 7 times 7, you say 49. If I said 6 times 6, you say 36. You're trained to do that. That's something that you need to have during your life. If you rope and you're serious about roping, you have to learn how to do that. You have to learn how to start. When I pull that machine, every time the leg is back, you have to swing down, now, back, now. And if you're not in time, and you throw when those hind legs are forward, you should miss. And you can't catch this sled when you're out of time. Another thing that people say all the time is they say, I head a lot. People say, I'm a header and no one catches for me. Well, my dad used to say that all the time. My dad used to say, I turn steer after steer and no one catches. And if he wasn't been such a violent man, I would have said, well, Christ couldn't catch for you. You handle him so bad. And one of the keys to handling a steer is to get your rope tight when you dally and make sure you bend the steer's neck before you go left. And people have never seen that before. So I came up with an idea that when you rope the steer and you set the steer, his legs would bend, his head would bend, his neck would bend before the rope came off. And then you could set your horse and the rope would come off. But bending their head and seeing that while you're still parallel with the steer. I had a young guy at the training center the other day and he said, do steers' necks bend? I said, yes, and you should know that. You should have already known that, because when people handle cattle poorly, they rope the head and they go left while the rope is still slack and the steer's neck is never bent. So we get people on this sled at home, we have them rope and we have it bend their neck and follow it along with the neck bent and then set, and then your rope will come off. Another thing that people do wrong, like where I live in Stephenville, Texas, and I don't know why, but all the best ropers in the world live there. Not all of them, but a lot of them live there. And it's not like San Diego. It's cold and windy and miserable, but the reason that they do live there is because you can rodeo out of there. Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, San Angelo, the BFR, the George Strait rope, and all those ropings are right around there. And when those guys come over, they never rope too narrow. And when you go to a roping school, guy after guy ropes too narrow. They get too straight in behind the steer. That way when you rope the steer and you try to set him, the steer stops in the corner and you can't pull him until you get all the way out to the towing position, and then you pull and there's a delay in the corner with that. So pro ropers don't do that. When you watch the NFR tonight, those guys are wide. So when they rope and they dally, as soon as they dally and start to move, the steer comes with them, so there's no delay in the corner. Well, we wanted it, we fixed it so the rope would not come off when you were too straight behind. If you rope this steer and you try to dally, the horns will go up, but the neck won't bend. It won't come off. The only way it'll come off is if you're off to the left side and bend the neck, and then the rope comes off. So all of those is to train you to do the right thing, because people at home are trying to learn how to rope and they can't teach themselves. You know, I remember as a kid trying to learn how to rope with my dad in 1965, and my dad said, let's go out and practice one day. And I said, practice what? We don't know what we're practicing. We just go out and run our horses around until they get hot, and then we come in the house and we think we're done. You've got to have some way that you know what's wrong and why you can't catch. Another thing that people do wrong, and it's a misconception that I think, is people say, I missed because I didn't follow through. I bet you never heard that. I didn't follow through. When I was a kid, if I ever missed a steer, it was either because I dropped my elbow or I didn't follow through. I asked my dad one time, I said, I dropped my elbow where? He said it was down. I said, how low? He said it was low. I said, where's it supposed to be? He said up. I said, how high? He said high. Well, what does my elbow have anything to do with anything? Or I didn't follow through. I asked my dad one time, I said, Dad, if I let go of my rope, when the tip of the rope is going the wrong way, when I let go and the tip of the rope was going the wrong way and really follow through, how come it didn't go on there? You know what he said? Dropped your elbow. Well, I knew right then that my dad didn't have a clue what he was talking about. No idea. Because when I heel, I don't follow through at all. I hang onto my rope until the tip of the rope gets going in the direction I want it to go in, and then I open my hand. But you have to wait till the tip gets going that way before you open your hand, and that's the problem. People can't feel the tip. So all of our lives we've been told that we didn't follow through. So you let go of your rope at the wrong time and you really follow through, and it still doesn't go under the feet. So we try to get people to teach people that it's about the tip. The tip has got to go in first, and then you set the bottom strand on the ground. And if you talk to pro ropers, they talk about the importance of putting the bottom on the ground. Jade Corkill talks about, he not only puts the bottom on the ground, he puts the bottom strand 6 inches into the sand. Clay O'Brien Cooper talks about the importance of putting the bottom in the ground. But everyone thinks that you're supposed to sweep the rope through. It doesn't work. it doesn't work, especially if you don't know how to get in time. If you try to sweep the rope through and the steer's feet are on the ground, how can that work? It's going to hit the foot that's on the ground, and you're going to get as much rope in front of the feet as you do behind the feet, and it's not going to go under. And if it does, you're going to catch the right leg. When I was a kid, they told me, they said, tie the sawhorses up off the ground. I said, the steer doesn't look like that when I throw at him. The steer's not off the ground. You know why? Because I don't have the ability to get in time. I didn't know how to do that. So why would I tie the sawhorse up off the ground? Because when I try to do that, it works great when it's tied to the fence. But on a steer, when I try to do that and he's on the ground, it doesn't work. It hits the leg and falls over, or it hits the front feet. So that's what this machine is designed, because after trying to teach people all these years, it's tough and people are frustrated because they can't catch. And there's a way to catch. You know, I had a roping and I gave a truck away at a roping, and we had 880 teams, and it was a low number roping, and it was a 3-steer average. You know how many teams caught 2 steers out of 880? 60. 820 people missed, could not catch 2 steers in a row. Something's wrong. Something's terribly wrong if that's the percentages that we're doing, and that's the way that we're practicing. So I think there's a lot of things that I didn't understand growing up, and that's what we try to do at the clinics, is to teach people those things. But timing is one of the things you have to do, and if you throw when those legs are forward, when those hind legs are forward, you should hit the front feet, because you do on the steers. You do on the steers, and we want you not be able to catch a sled if you're completely out of time. So that way you can go home and you can work on it, and as expensive as steers has got. And another thing, practicing the sled. You know how long you should rope that sled? A day? I mean, people say, oh, I can't find anybody to pull it. Really? You can't find somebody in your neighborhood that would get on a four-wheeler, a kid that wouldn't drive a four-wheeler, because kids hate that. No kid likes to drive a four-wheeler, especially if you give him $10. God, what an awful experience that would be. So you're not trying hard enough if you can't get that. And I was at the training center the other day, and the guy was missing because he was out of time. And I said, okay. I said, I got my kid that works for me, and I said, he's going to go out there. You're going to get on the time machine, and you're going to rope that for, I'm going to go shoe a horse. Takes me about an hour to shoe a horse. I said, I want you to rope it the whole time. About 15 minutes, he was over there looking at me. I said, what are you doing? I'm tired. I said, after 15 minutes, you're tired? Ty Murray came to the training center the other day, just spent the day to rope. Remember Ty Murray? He said that he had a daily workout that he would do. It involved sit-ups. This was just only part of his workout. How many sit-ups do you think Ty Murray can do in a row? 500? He would do 2,000 in a row. 2,000 sit-ups in a row. And the only reason he stopped at 2,000, he said he's tired of counting. Not that he couldn't do more. He was just tired of counting sit-ups. This guy roped the dummy for 15 minutes and was exhausted. Something's not right, right? So, I mean, you've got to get out there, because that's what I did as a kid. I got on my lead steer, and I would follow him around for hours. And every time his leg was back, I would say, down, now, back, down, now. And you have to learn that if you want your percentages to go higher. Come out here for me. Can you, please? Please? And all it is learning to coordinate your swing. Come with me. And stand right here. Okay, now look, he's going to walk that way. Again, go turn around and walk that way. And he's going to walk. Now watch, my swing, come here, well, stop. My swing is going to be down at 2 times. It's going to be down when his leg is back, his left leg, and down when his left leg is forward. Ready? Down, 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 down. Okay? Now, stop right there, wait. Another thing people asked me when I was a kid, or they told me this as a kid, they said, when you heel, when pro ropers heel, they crank it up. You ever heard that? You got to swing your rope fast. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. If you ask a saddle bronc rider tonight, if you got behind the bucket chute and you said, how fast are you going to spur this bucking horse? What would he say? As fast as he bucks, right? He wouldn't say 27 miles an hour. He wouldn't say that. He would say as fast as he bucks. Every time his feet are forward, my feet are going to be forward in the neck. And then when he leaves the ground, I'm going to pull him back. When he hits the ground again, I'm going to put him forward. And you have to learn timing in order to ride a bucking horse, right? It sounds easy, doesn't it? Let's flank one and you get on him. Bet you can't do that. And you know how they learn that? By just getting a horse that just barely gallops around, just barely crow hops, and learning to be forward and back and forward and back and forward and back. So that's the beginning, what kids do on this game. So watch. he's going to walk faster this time, and my swing will be at a different speed. Walk fast. Down, 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 down. Got him. Stay there. Move over just a little bit that way. You should be so good at that as you can rope him as he trots by with no swings. Trot by. Trot, trot, trot. No, go back over there. Do you know how to, like jogging? Okay, jog. Jog. Yeah, that a boy. Jog. Good. 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 Perfect. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. Good. Have a seat. And do you know why I can do that? Because I know how to get in time. That's all that is just timing, and you have to learn that. You know, when I first started putting on roping schools, I started helping people, and the guy would miss. He'd say, what'd I do wrong? Out of time. He'd say, thanks. I said, you're welcome. Next guy would miss. What'd I do wrong? Out of time. Thanks. Welcome. I thought, there's got to be a better way to teach this than just me saying that every single time. And you have got to learn how to do that, and you can't throw when you're out of time because it doesn't work on the steers and it shouldn't work on a sled. And you got to get on a sled. And listen, sleds, you can do so many things. You can practice so many things. Like I learned how to rope, and my son gets after me for talking about this, but my dad made a sled out of a hot water heater that we found at the dump. Went to the dump, got the hot water heater, and he welded legs on it, and I learned a million things on that sled. I learned how to get in position and stay in position. I learned how to rope and dally and follow. I learned how to dally and keep my horse straight without quartering when I heeled. I learned how to back my horse off as I delivered. I learned how to get my tip down and make my horse look through it. I learned how to turn my rope over on the outside of the right horn. I learned all those things on roping a sled, but guess what I couldn't learn on my iron sled with the hot water heater? Couldn't learn timing because the legs didn't move. The legs didn't move back and forth. So there's 4 reasons why people can't catch. 1, they can't get in position and stay in position for a series of swings. 2, they can't feel their tip. 3, they can't recognize timing. And 4, they don't back their horse up before they deliver. Those are the 4 reasons why people can't catch consistently when they rope. And people say, well, my horse, I have a really good horse. I made up my mind last year at the clinics that I was not going to get any more hateful letters. No more hateful letters at clinics. Because I was getting about 3 a year. And this is the #1 way to get a hateful letter. When people walk up and they ask you about their horse. Oh. Walk up and say, see this horse? Yeah. Raised this horse. Yeah. Owned his mother and father. And I just love him. What do you think about him? I love him too. Who doesn't know the answer to that question? Right? I know what I'm supposed to say. I know what I'm supposed to say. But I thought when people asked me about their horse, I thought they actually wanted to know what I thought. Because at home, when I'm training my horses and when I'm getting ready to compete and I lead a horse out of his pen, guess what I think? What do I need to do to improve this horse so that I can win more? That's how I think. That's how I think about every horse that I own. So when people ask me about their horse at a clinic, I thought they wanted me to tell them what I thought his weakness was. Well, he doesn't score, and he won't rate. He won't set the steer. He ducks off. You can barely dally. He doesn't face, and he jumps up and down like a rabbit when you get done. I hate him. No, I'm writing you a letter. So I tried not to get any more hateful letters at roping schools. But when people do ask me about their horse, I ask them, seriously, do you seriously want to know the answer? Because if you don't, then I know the answer that you're looking for. So because I actually try to get people to get better at a clinic. I try to tell them what I really believe. Okay, good. Hey, another thing. Hey, is there a chair? I need a chair that you sit in. Like, oh, yeah, right there. Perfect. Right there. Great. Okay, good. Thanks. Okay, another thing. I would ask people at a clinic. I would say, can you feel the tip? And people would say, I think so. I don't know. I'm not sure if I can feel the tip of the rope. Because the key to the delivery is I got to hang onto the rope until the tip of the rope gets going in the direction I want it to go in before I open my hand. That's the key to teaching. And that's not what I said when I started putting on clinics. When I first started putting on clinics, I used to say the key to the delivery is hang onto the rope until you feel the tip start to go under before you open your hand. That's what I used to say. I said that all the time, and people would come to clinics and they would write down what I said. That made me feel important. I like that. I like it when people write things down that I say. Anyway, I had a clinic in Georgia one time, and this guy came to the clinic and he said, I'm the worst healer you ever had. I said, I've had some bad ones. He said, I'm the president of their club. He said, I am terrible. I said, what's the matter? He said, my rope doesn't go under at all. I said, well, I have the key to the delivery. He said, well, I got the lock, baby. Whip it on me. I said, the key to the delivery is hang on to the rope until you feel the tip start to go under before you open your hand. He said, okay. So I stood in front of the sawhorse, and he stood right here. And when he went to deliver, he went like this. And I said, no. I said, hang on to the rope until you feel the tip start to go under before you open your hand. He said, okay. Swung his rope and went. I said, listen to me. I said, hang on to the rope until you feel the tip start under. He looked at me, he said, it doesn't matter how slow you say the words, I don't feel the tip. He said, what would that feel like? Oh my God, I've never had anybody say that to me before. Never had I ever had anybody say that. So I didn't know what to say. For about 3 weeks, I just went to clinics and I told people, when you get a funny feeling, just fire a shot. Just let her go. Just throw it. So you have to learn to feel the tip of the rope. And that guy said something really neat to me. He said, I can feel this piece. I feel that in my hand, but I don't feel the other piece. What you're talking about? Because when a pro roper ropes, he can feel, it's almost like there's a weight tied on the very end of the rope. It's almost like there's a weight tied at the very tip of it. So the key to the delivery is I got to be able to stand here and wait till the tip gets going in the direction I want it to go in so it goes in that hole. And I'm not going to let you do that because you'll ruin the chair. But you got to be able to get the tip to go through that hole. See, there's only one way through there, and that's if I can learn how to get the tip ahead of my hand, right? But if you let most people at a roping clinic do that, the delivery looks like this. That's what it looks like. And if you try to do that when you're out of time, it doesn't work because you hit the front legs. Or the steer's feet are on the ground and it hits the rope, the bottom strand hits his foot and falls over and it doesn't go under. And they don't understand what's wrong. So you've got to be able to, and that feeling the tip is not an opinion. It's not an opinion. It's like being pregnant or not pregnant, right? You can't be a little bit pregnant. It's yes or no. If you have a mare and I say, is that mare pregnant? You would say, a little bit. No. She's either going to have a colt or she's not going to have a colt, right? It's yes or no. So it's the same thing. If you can feel the tip, you can make your rope go through that hole and you can get the tip ahead of your hand. And that's not some amazing thing that I can do because I'm such a specimen of an athlete. It's because I can feel the tip, and that's what you have to learn how to do. So those are the things. And the better rider that you get, you know, and I've stopped saying this because I used to tell people at the clinics that we have goober t-shirts, and you can't buy a goober t-shirt, you got to earn a goober t-shirt. And the way you can earn a goober t-shirt is if you say, I hate slow steers. Now, why do you hate slow steers? Because your horse won't what? He won't rate. He won't rate. The last year I competed, I heeled for Jake Barnes was my first partner, and Trevor Brazil was my second partner. Can you imagine going to a roping with those two and look over at Trevor and say, I hope we don't get the slow one today? I mean, who would say that? I mean, they would throw you out of the vehicle. You know how you win a major event? Right in the middle of it, they give you a slow steer. I promise you, they're going to draw an hour and a half before the team open tonight, and every guy is hoping for what? Yeah, they don't want that black one that hauls butt. Looks over there at that big fat one with them great big horns and go, boy, I hope I get that one. Nobody says that. So learning how to get in position and rate position. And the last thing is about delivery. When you deliver, the reason that slowing your horse down is so hard is because of this. That's why that's so hard. If you ask somebody to do that, that's easy to do. Your hands are not used to doing opposite things. So when you deliver, when you heel, when the last swing goes over the steer's back and you start to come around, your horse has got to slow down as you deliver. So your left hand comes back and your right hand goes out and down. So the left hand comes back, right hand goes out and down, and most people can't do that. They'll deliver and their horse is still going the same speed as they was because your horse don't know you're going to deliver. You know you've decided to deliver, but he doesn't. So he's just trucking along behind the steer, and you throw and you catch him off guard and your rope goes in and falls over. Any questions about that? Any questions about anything I've talked about right there?
Walt Woodard, I hate having to cut you off like that.
Right, no.
World champion team roper Walt Woodard, ladies and gentlemen. Are you going to hang around just a second?
Just a second, we will. We have a time machine booth at Mandalay Bay. If you're interested in time machine booth, we have it over there.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you for joining us, Walt. We got to keep her rolling here. But ladies and gentlemen, world champion team roper Walt Woodard.